Welcome to Soul via Soul, the podcast where we embark on a journey of self-love and true wellness. I'm your host, Jada, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you here with me as we dive into all things mind, body, and soul. Now, what do you say we get this thing started? Let's dive in. So let's dive into something I am so excited to be bringing to fruition. So I have some pretty exciting news. And if you've been following me on social media, I'm sure you've seen some of my previous chatter about my new program, Unbecoming. Well, the exciting piece is that it launches on Friday the 13th, exactly, because it's time to do the scary things. It's time to stop ghosting on ourselves when it comes to wellness. It's time, to, as they say, to have a little dance with the skeletons in our closet. And I know that that sounds scary, and that's part of the reason why it's launching on Friday. And it's not too late to lock in your exclusive access, but more on that later. I want to take some time today and talk about what Unbecoming really means. And of course, being not only a mental health professional, therapist who's worked a decade in mental health, and also a history of being in family practice for a few years, it's this combined body-mind approach that has me the most excited about this program. And why I want to take some time today about what this process of unbecoming has anything to do with living our best life. So first of all, let's talk about healing. Now, I could say that, and most people are not terribly excited to talk about healing. That's like saying, hey, let's do this really uncomfortable thing and you're going to love it. Yeah, no, that's mostly a hard pass for people. If I say, hey, let's go get an ice cream cone, you're like, yeah, awesome. Sounds great. Or, hey, I know where there's buried treasure. Want to come? Yeah, I'm in. But when I say, hey, let's do the job of looking under the bed and in the closet and inward at our deepest, darkest secrets, and let's just see what we find. Hard pass. That's a hard thing to sell someone. It's a hard thing to encourage someone to do. And it's not something that you often willingly do. Sometimes you need a little push. And for a lot of people, they know. Like I knew for a really long time that I was in a toxic place and I needed to go. And yet I stayed for years because I didn't have the knowledge, the courage, the strength, the belief in myself to actually take the leap to choose me. And I can tell you that choosing to love me was the most frightening thing I've ever done. So I can understand why there's not a whole long list of people saying, yay, let's talk about the scary thing of healing. Because it's a journey. It's not a one and done. It is an arduous process at times to look under the covers and then look under again. And then, oh my goodness, we're going to have to do a little bit more. And since we're talking about covers, one of the things that I think is the biggest disconnect is that we layer ourselves with things that have protected us, we think, because when we were in survival mode, we end up layering our heart with all sorts of things that we think protect us in life. So we don't get hurt. So we don't have to rip off the Band-Aid. So we feel safe. And oddly, it's those layers, those coverings that actually keep us from authentically loving ourselves. And the buried treasure, the gold, is actually inside of us, buried under the layers of all the things that we learned to cover our heart with when we were surviving. And I've talked about this, and I'm going to just sprinkle in a little bit more. You can have a fabulous childhood and still have trauma. Part of this is the way our brains develop. And when we are young, our brainwave patterns are much slower, and we actually spend more time in our subconscious mind when we're little, which is why things drop into our subconscious that stick with us forever. And it doesn't have to be a big T trauma, it can be a series of disappointments. And the process of growing up is disappointing. And we start layering up. We start adding on armor around our heart that we think keeps us safe, that is going to prevent us from getting hurt, from getting our heart broken again, from being picked last, from feeling the sting of rejection. However, it's the opposite that we have to do in order to start our healing journey, because it's a journey. It's not a one and done. It is a process. I spent years in therapy before I became a therapist. I've done the hard work of uncovering and getting to the other side. And it's my greatest passion to help others do so too. And sometimes you need a nudge. So as we think about what it is getting into our healing journey, it is about removing layers. It is understanding that all the things that we've adopted when we were in our survival mode, because we had to be, because it protected us and kept us alive, we no longer have to hold on to. We can actually let go of. And that is what unbecoming is all about. It's about unpacking the hurts. It's about unlocking your true potential. It's unraveling all the negative self-talk that might be accompanying you in your everyday life, sabotaging you right now. Because the things that we learn as children that drop into our subconscious literally are driving the boat in our life today. And it's not until we go back and start the healing journey that not everyone's totally on board in doing that actually takes us to our truest potential. It allows us to live from a soulful space, from an authentic place, from a place that's not layered and covered with all the pretenses of expectations of all the people in our lives that we think we have to please. It's living authentically, loving you. And it is the process of unbecoming all those things that no longer serve us and literally reprogramming your subconscious mind to unlock your truth. Now, as a coach, I also coach people for like races and things. And having done the Ironman several times, that is one of the most arduous races like you can do. And I've trained people for that race in addition to doing it. And when people come to me now for like coaching, like I want to go run this race kind of coaching, which is also what I do in addition to what I do here. If we think about that as a metaphor, if someone comes to me and they say, hey, I want to do the Ironman race. Now, what they're thinking of is the accomplishment. They think of what's on the other side of being an Ironman, or running a marathon for the first time, or even doing a 5K. You think about what it's going to feel like when you cross the line. That motivates you when I say, okay, well, it's going to be hard work. Like you're going to have to get up early before work or after work, and you're going to have to go run. You're going to have to find time to go swim. You're going to have to spend hours on the bike, and your hiney might get sore, and you're going to be hungry, and you're going to be sore. And I'm going to ask you to get up and do it again and again and again, because that's what it takes to get to the goal. That's what it takes to get to the finish line. That's what it takes to get to the feeling of, I have accomplished this thing. It is also a journey. And it's hard. And if I come to you and say, hey, let's go do this really hard thing for several months, it's going to be great. You're going to be like, no. So you have to think about what's on the other side. And here's the odd thing about doing the hard work is that, again, the basket of gold, the pot of gold, the proverbial pot of gold. If I say to you it's on the other side of that mountain, but we're going to have to go climb that mountain to get it. Some people are willing to do that, and some people aren't. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're ready when you're ready. But we have to go into the uncomfortable. We have to face the boogeyman. We have to stop ghosting ourselves. We have to be willing to look at what is holding us back. And often it's that unhealed trauma or traumas from childhood. And we have to unpack that. We have to unravel the negative thoughts. We have to undo the programming that we've been marching along for so long. And it's hard. It is hard, which is why my upcoming program, Unbecoming, is one of the most exciting things that I've ever created, because it actually helps people answer the question of how. How do I get unstuck? And I remember knowing, like I started off this show, that I needed to make a move. I knew that it was not healthy, and yet I was frozen. I was stuck. Until one day I wasn't. And you know if you're feeling the tug, you know if it's time to move. And it can be scary. But having someone to walk alongside you in this journey makes all the difference. Having a coach tell you, run this lap, now do this thing, now do this. It's going to move you closer to your goal. And that's the hope. So it is important, if you want to move the dial in your life, to remove the obstacles in your way. And the removal of those things sometimes takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of courage to look inward and start unbecoming everything that no longer serves you, so that you can create a life that you love. So if you're feeling a tug, feeling the need to make some changes in life, finally deal with the stuff from your past and work through your trauma in a safe space, then I invite you to consider joining Unbecoming and know that you're on the right track. I do remember standing in my kitchen when it finally hit me. It's like that story, when I was working in family practice, people would come in and say, oh, I injured my back. I can't stand up because I bent over to pick up a pencil off the floor. Well, it wasn't the pencil that did it. It was all those months or years of unhealthy habits, unhealthy patterns, not investing in your health and wellness that made that one time you bent over to pick up a pencil the one time you couldn't straighten back up, and now you're in physical therapy to heal your back. It took a long time before I was ready, before I had the courage. But then it was like a light bulb. And I remember standing in my kitchen, looking out the window and knowing it's time. And there was such a resolve. So trust that. Trust that if you're feeling the pull, that this is the time to do the scary job of looking inward, of starting your own healing journey. It's not one and done. It is a journey, but I'll be with you along the way. So I'm excited that this program is starting. It's one of the best things I've ever put together. And I am thrilled to walk alongside you in your own healing journey of unbecoming everything that does not serve you so you can unlock and create a life that you love. My new program, Unbecoming, launches this Friday. So if you are feeling the tug to start your own healing journey, head to the link in my show notes where you'll be able to jump on the wait list and secure your exclusive pricing. You don't want to miss this. And as hard as it sometimes is to do the work of healing, it's time to start your own healing journey. Let's get started.